In this video, we're talking about us versus them, which on the surface is the MAGA people against the liberals, and there's this visceral hate. But my neighbor lady is a nice lady. When she put a Trump sign in her yard, she did not become my instant enemy. When I told her we're liberals, we did not become her enemy either. She's not my adversary. I'm not worried about her stealing from me. How come there is this visceral hate and tension between a group of people when we're actually friends? This video is going to talk about the us versus them adversarial relationship that we should be focused on, and here's why. The large moneyed interest in the 1800s would buy everything in a sector and overcharge we the people. Well, we passed the 1890 Sherman Antitrust Act that said you can't do that anymore. It was to prohibit anti-competitive practices. And without laws like this, we would have the moneyed interest doing whatever they want. So we, the people, have to regulate the large money interests to keep them from taking advantage of us. This is a law that was passed for a reason. They didn't just decide, just in case, let's do that. They were doing it, and they were doing it bad. And this is not just a history lesson. Remember pre-existing conditions? The insurance companies would not insure people that were high risk. And the reason for this is because the accountants went up to the board of directors and said, if you just simply stop covering people that are high risk, our profits are going to go through the roof. They have to do that. If they look and say, yep, there's no law against it, the board of directors is required to make the change because their job one is to maximize profit for the shareholders, not try to save America on the backs of their corporation. And if they didn't do it and another corporation did do it, then they're going to be taking on all of the high risk. So once one of them decides to do it, they all have to do it or they'll go out of business. And then they won't be there and the other people will be doing it. So we had, in essence, a monopoly. We have no option to just not have insurance, and we don't have an option to just go buy it from someone else. So they're required move by the board of directors. They're not an evil entity. They're required to do that. And it hurt us. I personally could not get insurance and was on the verge of potential bankruptcy if cancer came back because we couldn't get insurance. Obviously, this is a bad thing for us, and it's not ethical to just skim the best of the profits off the top and leave people uninsured when they have no other option. So we the people, just like the Sherman Act, we passed the ACA and we told the insurance companies, we're the boss in America. You can't just do this. Not only can you not go with the pre-existing conditions exception, but 80% of everything you bring in has to go to patient care or you need to refund it to the customers. Your profit-bearing days on our backs are over, and that is powerful. That is we, the people, demanding that they stop unethically profit-bearing on our backs. If we didn't do that, they'd still be doing it. Even things like credit card companies, they have to be in constant check. They'll try to make money off of fees, and they shouldn't be doing that. They even, more recently, when we told them you have to cap your fees, then they go with inflation and make the fees higher because of all the inflation. So they're back to being high again, even though we capped them. And on top of that, they were knowingly and on purpose jacking around the due date. They would make it on the 2nd, and then they'd make it on the 28th. So people weren't ready to pay the bill yet, and they get hit with late fees. When the computer analytics people and the accountants come to the board of directors and say, if we adjust the dates like this, we're going to make money off of late fees. They're required to do it. They say, is there any law against us doing that? No. They have to maximize profit. Board of directors has no choice but to unethically take money from us. So we passed a consumer protection bill that said you have to put your bill on the same day every month because you proved you can't be trusted not to. If you look, your credit card comes on the same day every month because we, the people, the strong, powerful government, told the credit card companies, you are not allowed to rip us off. So you can see there's an obvious adversarial relationship. It's not because corporations are evil, it's because they are required by law to completely discount what is humanly, morally right. Because if they do, another company won't and they'll go out of business. It's just the dynamics. So it's our job to set the playing field for the corporations to create a competitive environment that provides a vibrant capitalistic system, but at the same time doesn't allow them to just completely infringe on all of our rights. So now that we have established that's a true adversarial relationship, the one that's not between me and my neighbor lady that voted Republican, it's between we, the working people, and the consumers in America that have an adversarial relationship with the super rich and powerful. That's an obvious and undeniable adversarial relationship. We have to regulate them. So in this case, we have a political dynamic, and this is where it gets hard. I'm only talking about actual policy. Nothing I'm saying here is a matter of opinion, and it's not from emotion. This whole entire thing is all about facts. So please don't see this as like a slam on Republicans, because we all know Republicans are the ones that give all the tax breaks to the large moneyed interest. That's a computed fact. In fact, the end result of the tax policy that happens when we get the super rich and powerful and we let them make our policy, we end up with a dynamic like this. Tesla made $11 billion in 3 years and didn't pay tax 2 out of the 3 and paid a total combined tax rate of less than 1% on all of their $10 billion of profit that they made in the United States by selling cars to people in the United States. That's people in the United States pulled out their wallet and gave Tesla $10 billion more than the cars they received, and they paid no tax. So the argument here is, well, they're job creators. They created all of those jobs. Well, in that dynamic, what you're saying is, look at all the money that these working people brought in taxes so the rich can pay none. That's literally saying the rich can pay no taxes and the working people can pay all of it. Now, where did we get an idea that that was good? How come we, the people, have decided, yes, we want to give all the breaks to the super rich and we want to pay all the tax? Tariffs are the same way. How much money is the super rich person going to spend on their own personal tariffed goods? The tariff effective tax rate for rich people is something like what you're looking here with the Tesla, less than 1%. So, of course, the top 1%, they're going to come in and make policies like tariffs where they pay almost no tax and the working people and the consumers pay all of it. And that's not an opinion. There's a whole breakdown that shows tariffs are extremely regressive. And regressive means the poor people pay the very most as a percentage of their income, and the rich people pay the least. That's what regressive taxes are. And you'll notice you've never heard the term regressive tax, even though it is the official tax term. There's progressive and there's regressive. It's not a slanted term that's used to vilify someone. It's the actual technical term, progressive, regressive. And you never hear regressive tax on even MSNBC because large corporations happen to own every news organization we have, including MSNBC. So do you think MSNBC is going to come out and say regressive tax, regressive tax, regressive tax, where the corporations and the rich pay hardly anything and the poor people pay most of it? Let's talk about that today. They never talk about that. So if we wonder how come all of this information that you're hearing now seems a little bit foreign and you never really heard it described that way, is because it's not the corporate owned and corporate sponsored media's place to tell you that they are too powerful. They're not going to tell you that unlimited money in politics is bad because guess who gets all the advertising money? They do. So there's a point where you have to understand that you have to make your own agenda. And that is the reason for this video and this document, is to help understand the agenda from a consumer perspective. And nobody is telling us that except ourselves and each other. So please share this information. And the last thing we're going to go over is the them, the adversarial relationship we have, the super powerful. They have many different organizations that the super rich pump money into, think tanks, all kinds of ways that they can figure out how to go through loopholes to get extra money, how they can set tax policy to their advantage, which they obviously have. I mean, we're sitting here saying, yeah, we love it that the rich corporation paid zero and the people that work there paid it all. And that's our argument, that it's right, because corporate-owned, corporate-sponsored media told us to say it that way, quite frankly. So this machine of unlimited money and unlimited power is not here to help consumers or the workers. They are here to set policy for the rich and powerful, and it is directly reflected in their plans. They gave the mandate for leadership to Ronald Reagan, and he implemented 60% of it the first year. So Ronald Reagan said, I'm going to implement the rich and powerful agenda. And he did, for them. And the end result of that, no fairness doctrine. The FCC was completely deregulated, leading to our 100% corporate-owned and corporate-sponsored media system. And the best one, we borrowed trillions of dollars and gave it to the very people that gave them the plan. The rich and powerful said, I want you to borrow a bunch of money and give it to me. And we did. So now we have another mandate for leadership with exactly the same name, but it's version 2. It's a second edition, so it's called Project 2025, Mandate for Leadership. It's exactly the same name, and it has exactly the same purpose, to implement the agenda for the rich and powerful, our adversary. They handed a 920-page manual to the Republicans, and they are busy implementing the agenda 100% for the rich and powerful adversary to our entire governmental system. So what does this plan consist of? Of course, combining and closing as many agencies as possible, making it seem like we're ineffective and wasteful by shutting them down and saying, look at all the waste that was there, and we're making everything more efficient. What they're really doing is ripping our entire governmental system, that is our protection against the adversary, which is them. They're ripping it up from the inside out. We literally have always, for a long time, been electing the crooks to run the police station. So we have crooks run the police station, and what they do is they set policies that make it so they don't pay any tax. But this time, they've had enough of being told what to do. So what they're doing now is they're ransacking the police department. They're pulling the bullets out of the guns. They're tearing up the jail cells. That's literally what Project 2025 does, is strip the government from their power to regulate against the moneyed interest. And you can see it in the plan, and you can see it in the actions. And the only people that are going to save us from this are the MAGA people. Nobody's going to listen to us liberals, and we don't have any power. We have no money. We don't have any organization power. All we have is each other, and we are busy working. So are the MAGA people. That's why none of this seems to ring a bell from before. But the MAGA people that should be very mad that the government that you elected, expecting to represent you, is actually implementing a 920-page manual given to them by our adversary, the rich and powerful, to dismantle our government. And if MAGA people stand up with everybody else, and we all go and demand representation, just like we told the insurance companies they can't do this, and we tell credit card companies they could do that. If we stand up, we are the boss. But if we don't, they are the boss. Thank you.